Zhenju. I am from UTM Language Academy. My PhD study is about ESP communication skill evaluation and needs analysis of the pre-service flight attendants of Chinese airlines, which is a case investigation of the aviation service vocational college graduates in China. Just give you a little introduction of my research background. As we all know, flight density and passenger volume are quickly increasing in China, which means in the future, China will require at least 240,000 civil aviation service personnel, according to Liu and Tian's study in 2021. Qualified aviation professionals with strong multicultural communication skills are desperately needed in China. When hiring, major airlines in China and overseas place increased demands on candidates' English skills. Flight attendants as frontliners are required to instruct passengers on correct emergency measures and clearly communicate the information. They must be good listeners in order to comprehend passenger needs. For more than a decade, vocational institutions and universities in China have served as an essential training platform for flight attendants, teaching a large number of flight attendants for aviation enterprises. In a survey of English proficiency of newly hired graduates in China, Zhang discovered that many of them made pronunciation errors when speaking with overseas passengers and making public announcements. Sometimes they have trouble communicating, expressing themselves, listening, and understanding at times. While some students' communication abilities fall short of cabin crew language norms. Therefore, there are the reasons why I wanted to conduct my investigation. Therefore, my research is going to examine the inexperienced flight attendants' English competency level and specific limitations in the English speaking and listening skills. And also, my study is going to investigate the difficulties surrounding the requirement and use of English in the job. My research is also to find out the needs, lacks, and wants of the English communication skills from the point of view of both crew and the trainers. And also the research is going to discover the perspectives of passengers' satisfaction towards crew English oral communication ability on board. And finally, the research is going to analyze the findings to improve students' speaking and listening skills. To evaluate the English competency level of the inexperienced vocational college graduates, OPT, which is the standard test of proficiency, will be administered to determine whether the participants are homogeneous in terms of their language proficiency. Then, the speaking and listening test is taken to determine their communication ability, which will be used to gauge the learner's competency level. Outstanding researchers and experts in ESP field highlighted the huge significance of conducting an in-depth needs analysis ahead of making any decisions regarding any movements in ESP, since learners have various forms of needs for which they need to learn a language for different purposes. Well, in my study, needs analysis questionnaire helped partly to figure out the communication difficulties, needs, lacks, and wants of the cabin crew from the point of view of both the learners and the teachers instructing them. Needs analysis can serve to identify and facilitate the design of a suitable curriculum with relevant teaching, learning, and management objectives in order to ensure output of training match the job requirements. Interviews are essential. Data is obtained from participants' statements and opinions, which will reveal the language barriers and needs they have at work. Discovering the perspectives of passenger satisfaction towards English oral communication ability on board is critical. It can reveal the communication gaps and lacks lacks that flight attendants have, which aids to find solutions to improve participants' speaking and listening skill. As my study is going to probe the communication skill and needs of pre-service flight attendants, this research will go under following phases to achieve its aims. There are four phases, which are English language skill evaluation, barrier of communication, needs analysis, and also passenger satisfaction evaluation. The following research questions are developed to guide the investigation. What are the experienced flight attendants' English competency level and specific limitation in the English speaking and listening skill? Question number 2, what are the contextual difficulties surrounding the requirement and use of English in the job domain of the participants? Question number 3, what are the needs, lacks, and wants of the English communication skills from the perspective of both flight attendants and trainers? And question number 4, what are the perspectives of passengers' satisfaction towards selected cabin crew English oral communication ability on board? So those are the 4 questions that guide the investigation. For the participants, there are 3 groups. The first group includes 80 students involved in vocational school education, while the second group include the instructors and trainers work at the university and aviation training school. And the third groups are the 60 passengers from more than 3 English-speaking countries. Well, the research will develop questionnaires and semi-structured interviews to collect data. During the development process of the questionnaire, the related literature will be examined in detail. The items selected from the related literature will be collected in a pool, and then the most suitable items will be chosen for this study, which will be sent to experts from the field in order to measure the questionnaires' content validity. As a result of expert opinions, necessary changes will be applied to questionnaire in terms of its shape and wording of the items. The questionnaire will also be pilot tested with 20 students to measure its reliability. Questionnaire includes English language skill evaluations to check the student's English proficiency level, which will be designed based on job description and China airline training curriculum. Barriers and needs of English communication questionnaires will be used to identify the necessities, wants, and needs. Passengers' satisfaction questionnaires will review the lacks and gaps of the communication during service. In addition to analyzing the obtained data out of the questionnaires quantitatively, it seemed essential to hold semi-structured interview session with these 3 groups of participants. The qualitative data obtained from interviews will be used to compare the quantitative results gathered from the questionnaire in order to arrive at well-validated and substantiated findings. By comparing the 2 databases, we'll determine if there is a convergency, differences, or some combination in research. Since this study incorporated responding the research questions quantitatively as well as qualitatively, the obtained data needs to be analyzed differently. For the quantitative phase, having collected the required data, it will be analyzed applying SPSS. Furthermore, for the sake of the qualitative phase, the interview responses are audio recorded for the upcoming transcribing, coding, and interpreting. In vivo will be utilized. Mixed method approach are required for collecting data as each serves various goals and could be applied to complement one another. And will also strengthen the design of the study as learners' obstacles, needs, lacks, wants needed to be reviewed through different sources and methods. So, in conclusion, since there was a scarcity of literature on analysis in China pertaining to aviation English communication abilities of inexperienced vocational cabin crew graduates, therefore, my study will fill the academic gap in this area. The cause and the factors of the English communication difficulties will be found, and the language skill gaps between school instruction and real world industry requirements will be filled. The research will assist the participants to reach their aim of improving communication ability. Finally, the data collected may have important contribution for ESP material developers and teachers in this arena, as well as influencing the development of such ESP language training programs in China. Well, that's it. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it.